I want to welcome everybody to our fourth segment of the table and our first in 2021. We're glad if you have joined us before that you have come back. And if this is your first time, we hope that it's a great opportunity for you to get to know our president and CEO, Michael Ledger, and more about our programs and what Feeding the Gulf Coast does in our community. A little bit about what we're going to go through today. We're going to talk about our 40th anniversary. We're going to look at just what we did in 2020 and how we're still operating kind of in a pandemic mode for 2021. Michael's going to go into details on just operational things, some fun facts that are happening with our Florida warehouse. And then we're going to introduce you to Beth Finch, our outreach manager. She oversees the team that handles just connecting people in need with potential benefits that they might be applicable for. And it's a great resource for those in our community who are in need, from food assistance to other things that can really help make a difference in their life. And so we're excited that she's going to join us. And with that, Michael, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Amanda. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. One of the things we wanted to start when we initiated the table was to try to make sure that we bring the information that we see out there to more people, so you're aware of what we see, aware of the good works that this team does, and all the great work that our volunteers, donors, and others that stand side by side with us as we try to help those in need. 2020 may end up being one of the most covered years in future history books, but those stories are unlikely to capture the true impact it had on those that were affected in our corner of the world and around the world. So much disruption was experienced at a record pace. So fast things transformed from our normal life to job loss, lack of access, isolation, the loss of loved ones, and so much more. It will almost be equally difficult to describe in the future the caring and commitment and generosity that was offered by so many as they were facing these challenges. And at Feeding the Gulf Coast, we had a unique opportunity to see both things unfold at once. Neighbors that were facing some of the biggest challenges of their lives, whether that was brought on by sudden job loss, the impact of a hurricane, or of course the worldwide pandemic. The encouraging part was that most of these moments, while incredibly challenging, were met by people who stood side by side to help those in need. And we all worked collectively to try to ease their burdens and try to set them on a course of recovery. I think at this point, there's some hope on the horizon. We see the vaccines being dispersed, things improving slightly and slowly, but still 1 in 5 individuals in our little corner of the world, and 1 in 3, a staggering 1 in 3 children, face food insecurity every day. And though those are big challenges, we're encouraged and believe that this effort that we all pull in together will continue, and we'll be able to face those challenges and meet the horizon and a better day. So with that said, I was mentioning COVID. We are still in high alert. We're still following all COVID protocols. We're still working with our agencies, partnering with them to try to ensure that they're following the best practices, because if they're not safe, then they can't help that next person that needs it that we were just talking about. So internally, we're doing the same things. We're checking our temperatures before we come into the building. We're wearing masks. We're staggering shifts. We're trying to distance, all the meetings that might have been held in a conference room together. We haven't done that in going on a year now. We're all sitting in front of our computers doing the same kind of thing, even though we may just be on the other side of a wall. So we're still taking all the precautions that we have taken all along. I am really pleased to announce that in Alabama, they have recognized the importance of the work that we do alongside other groups of workers, and we are able to pursue the vaccine. We have much of our staff here in Alabama that have already got the first shot, others that have made the appointments for their first shots, and even a couple that are about to get their second. So we're very excited about that. And we're really working with our teammates to try to educate, encourage where we can, to try to make sure that we are all safe. Mississippi also is offering this. Florida has not yet approved vaccines for food banks and workers in our position. But as as so many of our teammates are on the front lines, we do think it's the right thing to do, and we're hoping that they will start to allow food workers, whether that be in a grocery store or a food bank, to be able to get the kind of protection that we hope that they'll be able to soon. But as you've probably seen in the news, the numbers are starting to slowly trend in the right direction, and we're hopeful that's going to continue. And as the vaccine continues to be dispensed, we think we're going to see that continue to happen. Unfortunately, even with the vaccine, it's going to be a long process. There's hundreds of millions to reach those that may take time to get comfortable with the idea. And for those people that have been the most affected during this pandemic, have lost jobs, businesses that have closed, that there's no job to go back to. We saw after the Great Recession, literally taking 7, 8, 9 years to see a full recovery for some of these people that were most impacted. This is going to be an ongoing recovery effort, and Feeding the Gulf Coast is going to be working hard to try to make sure that we are helping those that have been most impacted to get back on their feet. And we're going to be here for the long haul. And we know that our supporters out there are going to stand shoulder to shoulder with us as we help these folks through this difficult time. I've talked about the agencies and the importance of what they do. I can never say enough about the agencies, their willingness to give of their time, to give of their resources, to put the work in that it takes to get the food in the hands of people that need it is just an awesome job. We are so honored and privileged to be able to work alongside them. And I want our organization to try to show that every day. I believe that the team here believes it and wants to communicate it. And we're going to continue to do that. Volunteers. We don't do anything without volunteers. And we're going to talk about the amount of support we received in 2020 as we come to a 2020 overview. Again, a thank you to all the volunteers, wherever you may be doing it, whether you're in our building sorting food, whether you're packing up backpack bags for children, whatever, or you're out at a mobile pantry with a line of a few hundred cars passing out food. All of those things are huge, and there's so many other ways volunteers support us. Those are just mentioning a few. Obviously, none of this happens without your support. And of course, our donors. At the end of the day, food needs to be purchased, gas needs to be bought, lights need to be on, and all those things happen because of donors who open up their checkbook and help us. Although I guess today checks are pretty passe. I guess it's more of a credit card. But in any event, however you're supporting us, we greatly appreciate it. Okay, so 40th anniversary. We are, as I think you see on the screen, we're having our 40th anniversary. We're celebrating it here in 2021. You know, you can't say anything without mentioning COVID, and here it goes again. The ways in which we may have celebrated this amazing anniversary are going to be altered, but our team is working hard to find creative ways to commemorate the work that has gone into this for 40 years. All the folks that sat on the board and gave of their time to build this organization, support this organization, all the teammates that have come and gone through this building and the other buildings we have in Florida and Mississippi that played a hand in helping people for 40 years, all the volunteers, all the donors. You know, we really want to make an important message and a big event of it. And we're going to persevere as we have with everything else and everyone has in spite of COVID. If you have the opportunity to go out to feedingthegulfcoast.org, on the page you will see that we're commemorating our history, and you can click on our history button. And once you go into that link, at the bottom of that page, you'll see another link to share your mission moment. One of the things we're working on is trying to collect as much information as we can over our 40-year history. Not only will this be a great way to recognize and acknowledge all the work of 40 years, but we're also going to be able to build a time capsule of which we'll be able to use for the future, explaining what we've done. And if we have anniversaries in the future, which I'm confident we will, we'll have that to stand on top of. And we know that there's so many people that have volunteered across the 24 counties that we serve. And we would love to have any input you have, whether it's an experience at a mobile pantry, whether you were picking up an order here, whatever it may be. can't even fathom all the ways it may be at a chef's challenge, an experience you had, whatever it could be. We'd love to have all of that. So we encourage you to go out to feedingthegulfcoast.org and follow your way through to the Share Your Mission moment and share what you've got. And even if you have no mission, no memory to share, you can still read about our history, learn a bit about what we've done. And I believe Amanda and the team will be updating the events and the things we're going to be doing as we fill that out throughout the year. So you can also see upcoming events and recognitions of our 40-year anniversary. And with that, we're going to do something a little different in acknowledgement of our anniversary. We're going to be asking, I think, 3 trivia questions. And if you would like, you can go into the comment section and comment in the comment section, put the answer down. If you answer these correctly, your name will be put in to the bucket for a prize, a drawing of some, and we're finalizing that. We're not announcing the details of what that is, but you could win something. So if not, just play along at home and see if you can get these right. So question 1, and we're going to give you a little bit here to answer these and put them in the comment section if you're so inclined to go that route. What was the original name of Feeding the Gulf Coast? What was the original name of Feeding the Gulf Coast? And I can tell you that it didn't change that long ago. And we may perfect our trivia question techniques here in the future, but okay. So the answer, yes, number 3, Bay Area Food Bank. It was rebranded in 2016 to Feeding the Gulf Coast. I sort of chuckled when I saw this question because sometimes we struggle to get people to not call it the Bay Area Food Bank. So I was confident that if you were on this call, it was likely you were going to get this answer right. Okay, so question number 2. What year was the Bay Area Food Bank incorporated? Now this one could trip you up. What year was Bay Area Food Bank incorporated? And while you're answering that, I'll fill the time by saying that, some people came together and said, I think we need a food bank in our area. They could have been doing something else. They could have been vacationing, boating, at home with kids, but they got together from scratch and said, this is going to be a whole lot of work, but I think we need to create a food bank. And it starts with something like that, people caring enough to get together to acknowledge that, and then the willingness to put the work in, and look where we are 40 years later. So the answer to that question is number 1, 1980. Bay Area Food Bank was incorporated on September 17th, 1980, but began servicing agencies in 1981. So we're sort of in the meat of that, between those bookends to acknowledging our birthday here. But yes, it was actually incorporated in 1980. And then as you can see, when I said it takes a lot of work, I believe Amanda and I were talking, she was saying that the first distribution our records indicate was actually in December of 1981. So you don't just snap your fingers and build a food bank. A lot of work goes into it, a lot of financial support, time, energy. And you can see that's illustrated in the time between incorporation and the first food distribution. And our last question, how many counties did the food bank originally serve? So I think I mentioned earlier, we currently serve 24 counties, and that is across 3 different states, as I'm sure you know, Florida, Alabama, and Mississippi. There are, of the 200 Feeding America partner food banks, we are one of very few that serve multiple states, and even fewer that serve 3 states. And I can tell you, it takes an amazing team to be able to manage that. As you probably would expect, each state and the programs that we run have slightly different criteria, expectations, and to be able to manage all of those things and pull them together is a unique challenge, but our team, I think, does an amazing job of it. And the answer to question number 3 is 2. The food bank served Baldwin and Mobile, Alabama counties in 1981. Today, the food bank serves 24 across 3 states. Yeah, and the name is pretty clear when you realize that literally the two counties surrounded the bay here, and how they came to that name. So it was quite appropriate. All right, my last section before I turn this over is a little bit of the overview, or excuse me, Florida expansion. Sorry, that's next. The Florida expansion is coming along. It's been a process. I've mentioned it in previous episodes of the table. We have, I think this time, actual some pictures to show we're very excited about. So within any of these projects, it takes time to get it laid out, planning, financing, all of it. And we're finally at the stage where we see a building going up. And for those folks in Florida that moved over 15 million pounds of food in a facility that was designed to put out something like 8 or 9 million, I can't tell you how excited they are to actually have the space to really do the work that they've been doing. Amazing job they've done in spite of the lack of space, and to be able to put this up, it's going to expand our capacity dramatically, over 50%. In the the section you see there on the right, that's the very end of that. And then that 25-foot section is going to be a new large cooler that's going to triple the size of our cooling space. We're now going to have something like 165 bin locations in this new cooler. So that's going to be huge. 2 new dock doors, several rows of pushback and standard racking. You can see here in this overview, which may not be able to see all the detail, but to the left in all the white there is where you can see 2 new rows of pushback and dry storage, as well as 2 single rows of dry storage. In the bottom left-hand corner is the cooler I was mentioning. On the right, pushback racking, which is very efficient storage space. And on the left, a single row of racking. They're actually going to be putting the cooler up, we expect, March 22nd. A team's coming down to assemble the box. And then the mechanicals, condensers, coils, all those things will be put in subsequent weeks. In addition to the dock doors, a new pad for parking our trucks and our retail trucks delivering food. Also places of stage trucks to use electrical standby for our reefers. All kinds of stuff that's going to make our ability to service those counties just that much more powerful. And we're really excited about it. And we hope to continue to bring you updates. And we're very excited to invite you at some point to a groundbreaking yet to be announced. Okay, now the section I was talking about, a year in review. So to give you a few stats here, meals provided in 2020, over 31.6 million meals. That is an awesome number for us. You know, probably looking at a typical average, maybe more on the lines of 22 million. Of course, Hurricane Michael had inflated our numbers for about a year and a half, and we had done 28, 29 million. But to even go beyond that, or excuse me, I'm speaking in pounds, but to do something like 25 million meals, and then now 31.6 million, normal is something we vaguely remember. And to do 31.6 million meals, you have to move over 38 million pounds of food. So that was the poundage I was referring to. That equates to an increase of 39% more meals during the pandemic than the same period, 2019. So since the pandemic hit in March, we've been running nearly 40% harder than we had been. And again, that's on top of an inflated number that was Hurricane Michael. That doesn't happen without a ton of people putting in a lot of work. And to do that, you have to have a lot of food. And we're working really hard to secure that food. I had mentioned in the previous episodes of the table that we felt a food cliff was coming, something that the food banking was starting to acknowledge, and we were seeing it on the horizon. Unfortunately, that prosecution was true. We are actually now in the midst of a food cliff. The warehouse inventory is definitely not where we'd like it to be, but our team is working hard to continue to secure food, find food via means we normally wouldn't. Purchasing food is something we've always done, but it's fortunately not made up the majority of what we do. Unfortunately, as our federal programs are less robust right now, we've had to secure more food through purchase. Our retail program is out there every day. We have 185 partner retail stores. And you know, the stores you shop at for food, they're probably a partner of ours. And we have trucks and teammates out there every day, drivers that are collecting the food that they are donating to us. We rescued 11.5 million pounds of food last year, and we're hoping to rescue even more this year to support the food that we need to maintain this pace in the face of COVID. Moving all that food, we leaned into mobile pantry food distributions. That's always been a part of what we do. It's not the cornerstone of what we do. We like to work with brick and mortar pantries primarily, but we've always used mobile pantries to some degree. But during COVID, just the sheer volume of food that we needed to move and the means in which we could do it safely, mobile pantries became a much bigger part of it. So to scale up on a model that we have never done at this level, over 800 mobile food distributions, it takes a lot of people stepping up in the community to say, hey, you know what, bring me 5, 10, 20,000 pounds of food. We know it's going to be hot, it's going to be hard, but we're going to be out there and we're going to distribute it. And our team, of course, getting the food together, getting the orders ready, drivers that are taking it out there on site, unloading them right on the spot, using lift gates and pallet jacks. It is a true team effort from volunteers, agencies, and our team. And pulling off 800 of those is for us a pretty awesome number. That actually equated to, through that singular method, we put out over 6 million meals of our total, which I don't think would have been possible to hit that total without the use of these mobile pantries. Next, child nutrition. Talked about the fact that they've been running all 4 programs consecutively, backpack program, school pantry, after school and summer meals, with schools being in and out, on and off. Being able to reach kids is required us to really pull out all of our bags of tricks. Child nutrition department's done an amazing job here and continue to do so. We've provided food to over 17,000 children in our service area, providing over 1.6 million meals and snacks and other things to support them in their needs. As I mentioned, food insecurity for children in our area is very high. And we've delivered over 3 million pounds of emergency food and water in response to Hurricane Sally and Zeta. So in addition to having a pandemic emergency, we as you know, in our service area, or at least much of our service area, experienced 1 or 2 perhaps hurricanes if you were lucky enough to live in the worst affected counties. And in direct response to that, we did supply over 3 million pounds of food. Senior program, also I'll mention that provided over 365,000 pounds of food through our senior program. And then lastly, but not least, our SNAP. You may hear SNAP, you may hear outreach. They're sort of used interchangeably around here. SNAP applications helped generate over 6.5 million meals in 2020. And I'm going to be introducing Beth, who's going to talk to you. She runs our director of SNAP outreach at Feeding the Gulf Coast, and we have advocated, as has Feeding America, to our government, to our federal, state, and local agencies to support SNAP, as it's an important arrow in our quiver for supplying food to those in need. And it's really important work that we do here. I'm going to turn it over to Beth to let her talk to you more about it.
Hey, Michael, thanks for having me today. And I'm really excited to tell you about all the work we're doing. So I'm going to give you just a little background of how the food bank started doing this type of outreach, and then where we're at, how we've grown, and how we're going to look forward a little bit. Feeding America started to see across the country this really need to address food insecurity in a bigger way, more than just at the giving folks the food box or handing them something at the pantry, but our agencies were saying we'd want to help them in a bigger way. And so our food bank, like a lot of others, started in 2010 started an outreach program. So just like the food bank, it started working really primarily in Mobile and Baldwin counties. And we helped people sign up for SNAP. And SNAP is the new name for food stamps, but it's a way for us to look at food insecurity and to look at that long term for folks. And it leveraged a program that was already existing that people just honestly sometimes had a hard time getting to. And so it started out as just a way to really help bridge that gap for people. So we started that in those Alabama counties, and then it went really well. And in 2013, we expanded in our efforts into Mississippi and our Mississippi coverage area. And by 2015, we were not just working in our service area, but had expanded our work into both states. So we were fully covering all of Alabama and all of Mississippi in our outreach work. And so it was continuing to grow. We now have staff in 5 different locations in both states. And that's really thanks to our food bank partners across both states that have helped us sort of see where the need is and really put our folks there where they can be where they can help the most. So in 2016, we were given a really cool opportunity from the National Council on Aging to focus some of our work directly on seniors. We had always given seniors attention, but this was really an opportunity to see them as the vulnerable population that they are, uniquely through SNAP, and sort of see the hurdles that they had. Oftentimes seniors, their situation isn't going to change. And they had a lot of misconceptions, myths that they didn't know how it worked, or maybe were intimidated by some of the technology associated with it. And so we're really able to go in and to help seniors and then expand those benefits. So we were also able in that to start doing other programs like senior farmers market vouchers, the Medicare savings program, the low income subsidy, and and knowing that it was more than just applying for SNAP, but really looking for a way to help seniors in a bigger way and focus on getting them the things that would help with that overall food insecurity. Because we know that hunger isn't just always a food issue, that it really comes back to the person's situation that they're in. So our program has really revolved around meeting clients on the ground, and our outreach staff, like I said, is spread out, and they do a lot on the ground to meet people where they are and to really try and help people in a way that is convenient and comfortable for that person. So staff and volunteers throughout the years have done health. They go to health fairs. We're at the pantries and the food distributions, and we're making appointments at libraries and going and really meeting people in their communities. So and obviously across 2 big states, that can sometimes be a challenge. So in 2017, really the need to have this dedicated place for people to call, so that when our staff was out on the ground, they weren't missing people who maybe needed help. So, oftentimes when we're out at pantries, people either for some reason or another aren't able to talk to our staff. Maybe they don't realize what we're doing. A lot of times it was social stigmas. They didn't want to be seen, asking for more help. Sometimes it might have been that it was hard for them to even get to the pantry to begin with, but to have to stay longer or talk to someone was going to be a challenge. So we started a call center at that point in 2017 where we had some dedicated staff that were answering the phone, and really we expanded our reach into those counties where we weren't able to do a lot of on the ground work. We were able to really try and reach out to those folks and give them an opportunity to access the help that we were giving. So so that model, really, I mention it because it was, the fact that it was in place really enabled us to turn things in 2020 when everyone laughed that if you had plans in 2020, that yeah, you didn't have plans in 2020. So, but in, in March of 2020, where we had lots of folks on the ground, really were able to bring everybody in, and they were then able to quickly get on the phones, and clearly we had a huge surge of need, and the team, our outreach team, was able to really respond to that need. Even as they were dealing with their own uncertainties, and everybody with this, everybody's in a little different boat, but they were, answering the call and being there for people in a way that it really instilled confidence in the community. And they could probably tell you a million stories of all the different people that they talked to, and that they helped, and that even in their own uncertainty, they were able to connect them to benefits, reassure them that it's going to be okay. We're going to move you forward, and that as a food bank, we're going to be here for you. And I think that was really, it was such an amazing thing to see the food bank come together and to do things even when we weren't sure what was going to happen next, but we knew what the next right thing was. So I'm proud of the team and how hard they worked, and pivoting, going from a lot of extroverts out in the field talking to people to really talking to them on the phone. And it sort of enabled some things that we had already started, like doing some digital chatting, using Facebook, and using our web, really boosting up our website to be able to get people to reach out to us in a way that maybe felt comfortable for them. So we were able to really pivot, which theme of the year, right? Pivot. And so then we saw a lot of people also calling about pandemic EBT, which is for children that are on free or assisted lunch, that those parents were also needing help navigating that system. So we were able to connect with our states of how that was going to work, and get really good information to people so that, again, they could make sure that their children were being fed, and we could help refer them to our child nutrition programs. And then, as hurricane season neared, none of us could have predicted that we would see two hurricanes so close together. And again, the state reached out to us and said, can you help us with DSNAP? And in Alabama, we rose to the occasion. It was very quick, and it was a busy process, but we were able to help people get connected with those DSNAP benefits. And again, really address that food insecurity issue that people were having at the time, and be able to react in the moment of crisis for them. And again, the team did such an amazing job, and really heard a lot of stories of people who needed that support at that time. So clearly 2020 stretched us and helped us grow a lot. But in 2020, we through our outreach efforts, generated 6.5 million meals. And I think it's something that's so amazing to think about, that's a ripple effect of all of these efforts that we're doing. So just moving forward, we are continuing to do all these best practices. We're getting back out into the field safely, and seeing people as face-to-face as we can, as much as we can, but we're also hoping to continue to do a lot of the things that we learned in 2020, that, we're going to be there for people. And just this week, we've been getting calls from folks in Mississippi who experienced food loss because of power outages, because of the winter storm. So I think it's great to be a trusted community partner. And speaking of community partners, we're always looking for folks to help us in the work that we do, either to send us referrals or to hang up posters or have brochures. So if that's something anyone's interested in, you can contact us, and we'll get you those brochures, or we'll give you more information about how you can become part of our outreach partnership. And we will welcome any volunteers or groups that want to do that. Any questions?
We appreciate it.
Yeah, so So those are our numbers. So please feel free to jump on our website or to give our number out to anyone you know that might need that help themselves, or if there's someone in the community that is that person. We find in small communities, there's usually one go-to. So if you know that go-to in any area, will you please give them our number? Because we want them certainly to be able to share it and let them know that we can help folks.
Thank you, Beth and Michael. We're going to enter into a Q&A time. So I'm going to give you guys just a few minutes to put any questions you may have. There's a Q&A box, and we can also answer some of those questions because we won't be able to get to everything, but we can answer some of those questions through the chat. So just if you have any questions, list them and we'll get started in a few minutes. But I just wanted to reinforce what Beth just mentioned. If you know anybody who needs help, please direct them to our website. They can call our office, or they can get connected to the Benefits Enrollment Center if they're more interested in the SNAP benefits and Medicare. So if you would like to get involved, you can also reach out to us. Just call our office or go to our website. We have a Find Help, and we also have a Get Involved tab. And both of those have just a lot of ways that you can partner with us. I know that we have a lot of agency partners who are watching this today. And so I thank you for the work that you guys are doing, and want you to know that this is also a benefit for you guys to take advantage of in your own program. So please reach out to us. All right. Let's see, let me pull up the Q&A box. All right. So, Michael, this one is for you. As we near the 1-year anniversary mark of just being in a COVID response, what's been the greatest challenges, and what do you see the food bank having to still continue to do to hit the need?
Well, I mean, I think right now things haven't changed much. We're starting to see the improvements I mentioned earlier, starting to see cases dropping a little bit, and the vaccine being dispensed, but we're still so early in that phase. We're really still in the middle of this battle, and people are affected every day by it. We talk about job loss as one of those, or kids that can't go to school, so the parents have to somehow manage that and be there to make sure their education is going, and the way that it stretches folks financially, time wise, and we talk about job loss. Sometimes it isn't even just job loss. Maybe the place you're working at has cut their hours, and maybe they're at 50% capacity, so they're bringing home just that much less in income. So all of these things continue to really affect our neighbors across the Gulf Coast, and our job is to try to make sure that we continue to help them, and also try, as we're doing here today, to inform those that may not know about that of their plight, and to keep working on ways to alleviate their struggles, particularly as it pertains to food insecurity and hunger.
All right. So we had another question. It's about kind of our retail store program and how agencies can get involved with that.
Yes. If you call our food bank, you can get a hold of Carrie Ann, but we'll plug you into the right person. But we would love to find partners with a retail program. It's such an important part of what we do in our food banking, to be able to take food that would otherwise perhaps be thrown away. And I think we all have heard in one time or another that far too much food in America ends up in a garbage can. And when we can repurpose that food and give it to someone in need through the help of our volunteers and team, by sorting, making sure it's safe, ready to go, and then of course distributing it. So please call us at 888-704-FOOD. Or email us, and go to our website. You'll find contact information there, and we would love to try to onboard a new partner. We're always looking for new partners.
And Beth, on that same note, how can agencies get involved with the outreach program?
Yeah, we would love to have agencies get involved. The biggest way is just to share our information with clients, you know, when you do events, to loop us in if there's an opportunity for us to be involved. And in a non-COVID world in the future, you know, we would love to, you know, set up a table. We'd love to train if you have volunteers that would be interested in helping clients with the process in any of the different benefits that we provide. We're always looking for folks who want to be part of our team as volunteers, and but really just sharing our information. If someone needs posters, brochures, we even have some business card size little handouts that are a great way to just have those so that clients can grab one of those, and then they can call us if there's not someone there to do that. But yeah, they can reach out and call our helpline, and we'll help them get that stuff, and love to have them.
That's great. Well, guys, that wraps up our section today. And so I thank you again for tuning in. And we will be sending out a follow-up email that just gives you guys an opportunity to share the recording of this if you know of people that would have found this beneficial. And then it also gives you an opportunity to connect more with us. And if you have any questions that you think of between now and then, it'll be there as well. So thank you guys. Hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much, everyone.